Welcome to this very special series brought to you by Straight to the Source and Food South Australia, with support from the Department of Trade and Investment.
We're coming to you today from the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and we'd like to begin by paying our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today.
We've taken our studio on the road to Adelaide, where we're catching up with 10 exciting producers from regions across South Australia to find out what puts them at the forefront of creativity and innovation in food production.
It's been really fantastic to spend time in South Australia over the last few days. It's really reinforced the diversity that's on offer here and the outstanding quality across the board.
You can feel the connection and collaboration between producers, and it's really wonderful because it makes them so much stronger together.
Yeah, we've had and heard some fantastic conversations with producers over the last few days, and we're really looking forward to sharing their stories with you.
And it's been mighty delicious. Let's get started.
Today's guest is Pip Lawson from Pinnaroo Farms, who with her husband Skeet grow, sprout and mill lentils and wheat into a fine and highly nutritious flour. Welcome to our pop-up Adelaide studio, Pip.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here, and I'd love to start by asking you just to tell us a little bit about your farm and your business, Pinnaroo Farm.
So we moved back to our farm about 10 years ago, and we have gone down this path, as you said, about growing, sprouting and milling our grains into and creating this delicious and nutritious flour. So the reason why we sprout is it releases all these micronutrients that actually lie dormant in the seed, and they're ready for your body to absorb.
So thinking about local and regional, where is Pinnaroo in South Australia? Paint a picture for our listeners.
Yeah, so we're right on the border of South Australia and Victoria. And if you know the Riverland, we're directly south, and that's about an hour and a half.
Okay.
So approximately 2.5 hour drive to Adelaide. So we're in a semi-arid environment. So the lentils work really well where we farm, and they're excellent for soil sustainability and health. So that's why we love growing them in our crop rotation.
So you're growing lentils, barley and wheat. Is that what you've always grown, or have lentils been introduced recently, or what's the history of the farm?
Yeah, so before we were using peas, because actually it was my father's farm, so we've moved back to there, and he was always very big on looking after our soil. So we've actually been doing no-till for, actually this year's our 20th year. Mm-hmm. So I know that's been, in the media a lot now about these regenerative ag practices.
Yeah,
but
there's much more understanding, isn't there, which is great.
Yeah, but I feel the farmers in the Mallee, because we are in a semi-arid environment, we've had to adopt those practices ages and ages ago. Right. So we're really reaping the rewards now, seeing our soil really healthy. So growing a legume actually fixes nitrogen back into the soil structure. And then we don't plough like they used to in the old days, because that retains soil moisture. We develop better structure in the soil by keeping last year's stubble, and then that gets all turned in when we seed, which is now happening now.
Right this minute. So how did the business of actually sprouting and milling your own flour come to be? So you've been grain farmers for a while.
Yep. And
pulse farmers, but how did it evolve into the products that you have in the market now, which is the sprouted red lentil flour and sprouted wheat flour?
Yes. So there's 3 factors. A couple of years ago, our region went through a very dry period, and a lot of our lentils were becoming chipped and damaged through the machinery because there was no spring rain to finish them off. So no fault of our own, they looked a little bit cracked and dented, and they were rejected from the export market, which we typically sell into. So we actually had produce that we had no market to sell to. And when it's already been a tough season for a farmer, having that produce just sitting around is not ideal.
Rejected, first of all. That would be devastating.
Just based on visuals. So we actually milled it at that stage to test the nutritionals. They were amazing. So my husband and I started to question, well, why aren't we eating more Australian lentils? Is there a market for a pulse flour, which is where we started, and we call that our original flour. And we launched a website just to test the market and do a lot of customer discovery. Is this too weird for people? Not sure. And that led down, we also had a family, my daughter was an extremely fussy eater, and we started to look at other ways to access protein and nutrients, which then led down the sprouting path.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so really a journey of discovery and innovation because you were faced by all these challenges. So you hadn't been milling prior to that?
No. And sprouting was a very new concept. Obviously, sprouting's been around for thousands of years, so that's not new, but we feel it's a different way to eat grain. We feel we are a food fortification solution, so where people can add in additional nutrients into pre-existing recipes. It's both flours are extremely easy to use, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can cook a lasagna, and instead of using a plain flour or a corn flour in your bechamel sauce, you can use lentil flour, and you're getting that extra micronutrients.
And that's from the sprouting process?
Yeah, that's correct. So the sprouting process for us is a 3-day process. So once the grain's harvested, it's stored in its own silo, so the wheat and lentil, because our lentil's obviously gluten-free.
Yeah.
Has its own chamber where it's stored, and then we sprout it, or some people know it as activation. So we activate it, and then we to a particular point where it's the most optimal nutrient available.
And what is that sprouting process? So you rinse the lentils?
Yeah. So we rinse, and then we soak, and then we drain whatever little bit of water's left, and then we dry at a certain temperature for a certain amount of hours. And this whole process took about 10 months of R&D.
I was just going to ask, how long did it take to find those exact points of how long to soak for and dry for?
Because if you over sprout it, it starts to, because we trick the seed thinking it's growing a plant.
So you're activating the enzymes?
Yeah, that's correct. And when we pause it, all of those micronutrients that lay dormant in every seed are released and are ready for your body to absorb. And the one thing we're finding currently with our customers, especially using the red lentil flour, is that it's extremely gentle on the digestive system, because the phytic acid has been broken down, and the breaking down process has already started in that sprouting phase.
The body doesn't have to do that work. It can just literally absorb all the nutrients.
That's exactly right. So all the additional fibre and iron and folate, and in wheat we've got a high amount of calcium, which is really, really exciting for us. And we've started with wheat and lentil because that's what we grow on our farm, but the endless possibilities of other crop varieties, and we're in conversations about looking at native seeds as well.
Oh, wow.
And exploring that, because that would be fun to find out what's hidden in them.
And really exciting in terms of diversity of flavour and nutritional value as well.
Yeah.
So in terms of going on that journey of needing to find a solution, milling your own flours and trying to get them to the market, what has been the biggest challenge in that process?
Oh, that is a good question. Probably working out, when we're doing our R&D, we obviously do it in small batches of a couple of kilos. So moving to that next size up, now we are doing them in 5-ton batches, and finding the equipment which can allow us to replicate the processes, or if we need a larger sprouting piece of equipment, we know that we can expand quite easily. That has been quite challenging, and doing lots and lots of trials and testing, and obviously making sure our microbials, because we're adding water to the grain, making sure that's taken care of.
And there's time involved in that, obviously, because you've got the crop cycle as well that you need to work with. So it's not a quick process to go through that R&D.
No, that's right. And And we also are designing this business so it can fit in and around our crop cycle and what my husband is doing on the farm. So at the moment, we're just at the point where we're thinking about hiring someone to help with the farm side of it. So Skeet and I quite enjoy the actual sprouting process because it's quite rewarding seeing and creating this really, really nutritious ingredient.
So you've gone through this journey, you've created this amazingly nutritional product that really the market has never seen before. How did you go through the process of introducing it to the market and to customers?
Yeah, so I went through a program called Farmers to Founders, and I was lucky enough to win a grant with them, and they really helped to navigate the customer discovery. Are we solving a problem? All of these fundamentals, a lot of research. And we did all this through COVID. And my husband, one of my mentors said, you need to just ring people and don't ask them really direct questions, but find out how they shop and what they're looking for. So my husband put an ad on, not an ad, but just a post on Facebook. And I just spent pretty much 2 weeks ringing random people. And I think because everyone was in lockdown, they were so happy.
They had time. They wanted to chat.
Me. So I saw that as a bit of a blessing, but out of all the whole COVID mess. But so I had very lengthy and insightful problems because originally we weren't going to do a gluten-free lentil flour because we thought, how are we going to do that? We grow wheat and barley on our farm. But after doing a lot of customer discovery, we found how important it was for these people who can't tolerate gluten, how important they really were searching for a flour that had a lot of nutrition in it and wasn't highly processed and didn't have a lot of synthetic.
And what were they using currently?
Not pulse-based flours anyway. So I think it's changing now. Like this was probably 2 years ago when we started doing this research, and I notice now there's a lot more available, which is fantastic in the mainstream supermarkets and things. But they hadn't actually thought of lentils as a flour, which was because I think Australians don't typically eat a lot of lentils.
And why do you think that is?
Oh, probably because of preparation, the whole soaking thing, and maybe they're worried about them making them fart. I don't know.
Well, people do worry about things like that.
They do, and the bloating. So that's when we were looking at the sprouted flour, we were getting a lot of feedback that they weren't having the bigger side effects that.
And that's because of the sprouting.
Yeah. So we thought, well, that's a winner. And that'd make for an interesting slogan, wouldn't it?
It doesn't make you fart.
Yeah. Maybe we should run with that.
So as an ingredient, how are people using it? What is the feedback you're getting?
Yeah, so our customers who are purchasing either in store or via our online shop are using our lentil flour in either sweet or savoury recipes. So they're adding a couple tablespoons to their pancakes in the morning or sprinkling it on their scrambled eggs, right through, like I said before, making a bechamel sauce, or if they're making some sort of cheesy pasta bake, they'll add in a couple of tablespoons or a quarter of a cup in through there, or even in a tomato base.
So you can add it to existing recipes. You don't have to sort of reinvent the wheel and create new recipes for people to be able to incorporate it into their diets.
Yeah, that's right. And we had one customer write an email to us telling how she was cooking for her mum who's been quite unwell, and she was adding it into mashed potato because she was looking for ways to add natural proteins into that's not flavoured in vanilla or chocolate.
Yeah, and as so many things are.
Yes, and looking for natural ways to add, and the flavour too, because I think sometimes when people are unwell or their diets are changing in their latter years of life, they're wanting these sort of really richer flavors because our taste buds do change as we age as well.
So it's really versatile, and it can be used to fortify foods, to fortify people's diets and add a high amount of nutrition to it. So therefore really suitable for the aged care sector, for young children. And you mentioned before that's how your family sort of started off on this journey. And so what is the flavor profile?
So in the lentil, it's because of the sprouted process, it's a softer lentil taste. It's still a lentil. It's just a softer taste. We find that and earthy. So it's quite earthy. Some people get a slight peppery taste without the heat. But I think that I've never tasted that, but I do. I do hear that. A lot of chefs like using it with some meat dishes because it brings out the meat and rosemary and these quite,
savoury flavours that
enhances it. But then it can be quite soft in a creamy, something creamy that you make. You can use it. It goes beautifully with cinnamon and chocolate if you're looking in a baking. And our wheat flour is quite sweet. So I make sprouted wheat flour pancakes, and I don't even add any sugar. I probably add a teaspoon of vanilla essence. And the kids, that's it, because the flour's quite a lot sweeter.
You just mentioned baking, so let's talk about that. So I imagine because of its high nutritional value and the fact that it's gluten-free, this is a really exciting product for bakers.
Yeah. So you can make an Anzac biscuit, for example, using 100% lentil flour, and it gives it a slightly different flavour. And that's exciting for people. It blends really well with other gluten-free flours, or even other, like people sometimes use rice flour with it. So
you can mix it in. Balance out the flavour profile that way.
Absolutely. And we make our own pizza doughs, so we'll mix half and half, or make some flatbreads. So it's got a lot of versatility. And the wheat flour, because it is quite high in protein, so it's quite a heavy, dense flour. I use that in biscuits that don't need to have the height as what you would in a cake. But with the lentil flour, I can mix that with some self-raising or do a half and half. We do suggest to people, until you're used to cooking with it, on our packet we've got very easy downloadable recipes to help get you started. But we do suggest just trying a quarter of a cup and mixing it with your regular flour just to see how you go. And
then increase from there.
Yeah, and then increase. Because sometimes the mixture, depending on your batter, it can be a little bit more drying. So easily to fix, because you can add a tablespoon of milk or a little bit more oil, or depending how you like to bake, or an extra egg, and it is fine.
Oh, sounds delicious.
Yeah. I have to give you some.
Well, I tasted the crackers that you have just...
Oh, yeah.
They were really delicious. So.
Oh, thank you.
So is there anyone else in Australia sprouting flours and grains and pulses?
There are people who are sprouting probably at a more micro level. I think our unique point of difference is that we do offer a flour that's 100% sprouted. So we have not blended it with any other flour. Some of our competitors have created a blended flour. So, which, you still have the benefits of sprouting, but we are all in with 100%.
And so it's authentic, and it's provenance driven as well, because it's from your farm.
Yeah, that's right. And there is a big sprouted flour market, especially over in Canada. And I know I was reading the story of a lady over there, and she exports her sprouted flour to 14 different countries. So I have noticed it starting to sneak in to some of our stores.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That just gives me more confidence that
you're on the right pathway.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What goals or projects are in the pipeline that you're really excited about right now?
So we are excited to explore the native seed side of sprouting. We think that could have huge potential. There's already a massive trend over in Canada and the US and in Europe too, actually, with sprouted grains, which hasn't quite yet reached Australia. So we're very excited about being 100% Australian. We're not importing any other flowers to blend or doing anything like that. We'd love to create a brand that's uniquely Australian and
telling that Australian story.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, my husband and I know exactly how the plant has grown to, so we have quite a sense of responsibility of soil health and how we what practices we choose to use in our agronomy. And I think to grow slightly bigger to the next stage is very exciting. So I think we would like to build a big new shed and put some slightly bigger equipment just for efficiency. So we're going to start our next round of R&D after seeding, which takes a little while, which is quite a long process to bring out a new product, but it is getting a bit more quicker the more times we do it.
And so by building this infrastructure, you'll be able to then scale the business.
Yes.
And what are the markets that are interested in it right now, and where do you see that growth going?
I see, from the feedback we're getting, I am seeing people wanting to have a point of difference this is from a food manufacturing, food service point of view. They're wanting to have a point of difference in their menu, for example, and I feel that we can offer that. They're wanting to have a point of difference in their cracker. Some people are looking to increase their nutritional profile. Aged care, our lentil flour can be subbed 1-for-1 with a corn flour, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah, that's
no
super
lumps
exciting.
either.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah. And then, you know, adding that extra nutrition into their everyday meals, and it can be used in entrees, mains and desserts.
So you've really got a lot of growth opportunity because it's so suitable for the retail direct to consumer market, but you've got this really great opportunity in food service and across all different sectors, like you said, from fine dining through to manufacturing.
That's right.
So where can listeners find your products?
So if they head to our website, so it's just pinnaroofarms.com.au, you can find a list of our stockists, which is updated monthly. We're not yet interstate. We've just launched in South Australia to start with, and you can also buy online. If you are a food manufacturer or a chef and you're wanting slightly larger quantity than a kilo, you can always contact us and we can organise some samples. Like, we're more than happy for people to trial it in their whatever they're doing, and then we can work it out from there.
Fantastic. Well, if anyone is listening and they're interested, we'll put some links in the show notes, and you can also reach out to Tawnya or myself and we can connect you with Pip and Skeet. I'd love to just talk quickly about South Australia as a state and just how on the forefront of, you know, innovation and produce that it really is. It's always had a very strong identity as being an amazing state for food and produce. How does being involved in an industry association like Food SA support you and your business?
We've had a wonderful experience with Food SA. We are first and foremost farmers, so moving into, even though we're very integral to the food system, we found that Food SA gave us a really good base to ask all the questions that we had no idea, like how do you do barcodes, to who should I talk to? I've got this problem. Do you know someone?
And make you feel that no question's stupid, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And the support around pricing. So looking at all the different models, like, do you want a distributor or are you planning to export? So I have found a lot of those conversations very, very helpful. And especially when you're in a startup and we're in a different industry.
Well, all those things, they really are challenges and barriers, aren't they? If you don't find that right sort of community or organisation or infrastructure to support you on that journey. Because when you're on the farm, you're wearing a lot of different hats and you're thinking about all these different things you've got to do for the business. It's a juggle and it's hard to know where to start. Yeah,
and being remote, well, not remote, but 2.5 hours away too, it does... Yeah, you just want to make sure that you're not, when you do drive down to Adelaide, it's usually a day trip. So you want to know you're not wasting your time, and I feel that they are very good at putting you in touch with people that can help you solve problems. Sorry.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
And you mentioned yesterday that just the conversations you've been having over the 2 days of the trade show have really been so insightful and helpful. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have learnt so much, and I thank anyone who's listening who has stopped and had a chat to me and answered all my questions. I have learnt a lot more about food processing. I have learnt a lot more about R&D and the process. You know, we're looking at maybe involving, you know, how could I involve the university, for example. I've learnt, I spoke to one guy yesterday who'd just come back from an American food and bev trade show. And so we had a great conversation. It was only 10 minutes, but man, I learned a lot about the trends over there. And it just gave us confidence again that we are heading in the right direction and in the right space, and it will be here.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And having those conversations also, again, helps reinforce that you are either on the right pathway, or some conversations you go, okay, well, now I know that's not for me. So it does kind of open doors and close doors, which is really helpful.
Yes. And people who've sort of been indirectly involved, or they did this job of retail a while ago, but they've shifted, and sharing their experiences has been really priceless, actually.
That's great.
For a newbie like me.
Newbie. Well, you've achieved a lot in what, two and a half, 3 years?
So we launched officially in July last year.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so we did spend about a year, sort of a bit more on the down low, really learning about our customers and our market and potential for growth.
So that's an incredible achievement in the past, not even 12 months to see where you are now.
Oh, thank you.
So is export on the cards? Where do you see you see yourselves in 5 years' time? What will Pinnaroo Farms be, and where will we see it?
Yeah, we have a massive passion for how we grow our grains and then how we sprout our grains. And I think we will do that. We do that well. Someone asked me about my seeded cracker biscuit, and they're going, "Oh, you're going to bring out a biscuit?" I'm like, no.
They are delicious.
Oh, thank you. I said, I don't know. I said, I don't think that's our thing. But, you know, then that opened up the discussion of, well, can we work together in
collaboration with other like-minded producers? Absolutely.
So that's super exciting. And yeah, I do think there's a huge potential in Southeast Asia to enter into that market. And look, we are all ears with all ideas. So if you have one, hit us up.
Well, Tawnya and I are absolutely thrilled to be on this journey with you and Skeet and watch the growth of your business. The products are really, really exciting. As you said, they're nutritious, they're versatile, they're flavoursome, and there's so much opportunity for them. So we can't wait to see what the future holds.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.